This month Soap Challenge Club challenge is a plaid design. So I've already made my two base colors, and you can see I cut these up already, and I'm about to cut this one up. But before I started, I laid out my design. So I was initially going to do it in this mold, so I poured my pieces in this mold. I will put the formula down below for you to figure out exactly how much soap you'll need for each of the solid colors. But basically what I did is I took this mold, which was 3.5 inches, and then decided on the size square I wanted, which I'm using a 1/2 inch square. For the challenge, we had to use less than 1 inch, so I didn't want to do 3/4, so I went with 1/2 inch. I laid out my design. As you can see, it actually worked out to fill this mold because the mold's 2.5 inches high. Well, then I decided that I actually wanted to have some decorations on top, and if I did it this way I wouldn't be able to really do the decorations. So I kind of rotated it. I pulled out my tall and skinny mold, which is 2.5 inches wide and it's 4 inches tall, so I'll have room because this is only going to go to 3.5. The downside is that I poured it for a mold that was shorter, so you can see I kind of added some extension pieces. So let me show you how I cut this. So I have the planer, and I have it set on my lowest setting, which is going to give me a 1/2 inch square. So just measure it to double check, because it never hurts. And see, it's one of them slid down. I knew it didn't look right. So these are in quarter increments, so it shouldn't have been. Okay. This is why you double check stuff before you start cutting. Let's see. That is at 1/2 inch now. So what I'm going to do is basically just slice this loaf into 3 layers. So there's the first one. So you see I have a 1/2 inch layer. Second. And so what I should have done was made extra so that this was more even. I actually don't think I'm going to need this piece, so I'm not that worried about it. I was making another soap yesterday that had embeds, and I was going to have just enough leftover soap basically for what I needed for my this plaid design. And I didn't want to make a separate batch, so I was like, that's it, we're going to make this work. So I tried to, when I poured it into the top, to get this as level as I could, but you can see it's not completely flat. So I'm keeping this at that 1/2 inch level. Now that I have these sliced, I'm just simply going to hold it vertical and slice it into long cubes. So there you go, I got my little square. So I also, you'll notice that this is supposed to be the pink and then the white, and then the light pink will be a blend of the pink and the white. I decided that that was going to be too much pink, so the dark pink is now the white, and the white is now the dark pink. So I don't need as much dark pink. So the fact that this layer is not flat, like I said, I probably won't even need it. I'm going to have plenty. Okay. So this last square is actually just a tad taller than a 1/2 inch. So I am gonna plane it, and then this little bit that comes off, I'm actually saving it and cutting it into 1/2 inch increments like you see here, and I'm going to use them as spacers. So you can see I already have a couple in there to basically keep my squares from moving. I will just, when I cut this, I will cut off the ends so that they're not, you don't see them. They'll just be part of my scrap soap. So I said, because I switched designs, I'm going to have plenty of pink now. I'm going to have more pink than I actually need because they use a lot yet less for that. So anyways, this is the prep work. So gonna complete this, and then I will come back after I've made my batch. So I feel like this is kind of the hardest part, or maybe it's the most work. The next part, I'm just gonna make a batch. It's gonna be all the same color. It's gonna be a blend of this pink and my white. And then it's just gonna be pouring it and layering it so that it all lines up, it doesn't shift, that it is where it should be. So I guess that's probably going to be tricky too. But in the big scheme of things, I think making these embeds is the most work. And then once you have them, it's just a matter of go ahead and making it. So yeah, I will be back once I have my batch ready to start pouring into the mold. Okay, so I have my soap ready. It's at a very light trace. Now, to get this third color, you're mixing your color A and your color B to get color C. I did not do equal amounts because I used this hot pink, and I actually used a very little just to get that dark. And if I used like literally the tiniest amount, and already I have this pink, but I think this is a good blend. So I've already laid out the first squares, and now I want to basically pour the soap in between the squares. So you can see I have a green ruler on the side there. That is a quilter's ruler, which has 1-inch squares, which I found helpful when laying out my design, but you can use a normal ruler. And I just lost my little divider. You know what I really need to do? It's going to be so much easier to pour. Okay. So you want to pour just enough to fill the gaps, but not overdo it. And I just overdid it a little bit. It's okay. So when you pour too much in, pipe it some out. Okay. I'm actually not too worried about that end. Okay, so I have that light pink in. So now you want to put the dark pink on top of the light pink I just poured. And this is why I dislike tall and skinny molds for stuff like this, because it's really hard to get, oh, shoot, to lie stuff in. So you want it to lie just on top and not break through or push through. Or fall over. So what I am doing is I am putting these little spacers in between because I want to make sure that I keep everything as lined up as best I can. And I'm hoping that the spacers will allow me to do this. Of course, I can't get that pink one back anymore. Ay, ay, ay. Like I said, I'm hoping that the spacers will just make sure that the squares don't shift as I start pouring. The light pink. See, this one shifted. What I need to do is take out that spacer. Okay, let's see how this continues to go and build. Okay. Slightly tedious, so I am just going to speed this up, and you can watch me pour the rest of these layers, and we'll see how well I do tomorrow when I cut it. This was the end piece with all the little segments that I didn't even attempt to get straight. You can see I didn't attempt to get them straight. So let's see what we got. Oh, you know what? That one is tilted, and that one's slightly off, but all in all, I'm rather impressed. I wasn't quite sure what I would achieve with this, with the way they kept sliding. It's a shame that that one's not perfect. Oh, we got a little air gap. This was the end again where I just didn't care. They're all wonky crazy. I just needed to fill the space. Wonky. That was a divider piece that obviously floated into the space. We have some few air gaps. And I said, that one's shifted. Again, those are the divider pieces. Look at that air gap all the way through. You know, it's not awful for a first attempt. This will be my only attempt because I don't have time to do it again this month. I have way too much I have to get done, but I kind of learned what to do. If I had not used the tall and skinny, I think I would have been a bit more successful, but I'll take it. I said it was a learning experience, and it's not awful. So, and I love the flowers on top. I actually really do like this color scheme. I think it worked well together. Definitely have some air gaps in there, but that's okay. Isn't it pretty? I mean, overall, not perfect, but still pleasing. Well, there you have it. My plaid attempt for the soap club or soap challenge club for September. Let me know what you think.